Today, every country on Earth carries foreign debt. At the top of the list stands the United States, owing $38 trillion, the highest level in its history. The European Union follows with around $14 trillion, and Japan with nearly $9 trillion. Even oil-rich Saudi Arabia is in debt, so are export powerhouses like Germany and China. But here is a simple and unsettling question. If everyone is in debt, who is the creditor? The answer is stranger than it sounds. The world is not indebted to any single entity. It is indebted to itself. Debt is not merely a burden. It is the skeleton of the modern world. Wars, crises, booms, and collapses are all built upon this invisible structure. And when you follow the chain of creditors long enough, one truth becomes clear. This system may appear to work for everyone, but it does not benefit everyone equally. Today, the planet is buried under $315 trillion in total debt, almost 3 times the size of the global economy. How did we get here? The answer does not begin on Wall Street, but on the battlefield. In 1694, England was at war with France and running out of gold. The king turned to merchants for help. In exchange for future tax revenues, he promised them interest. For the first time, the state began spending money it did not yet possess. To manage this new system, the Bank of England was created. And for the first time in history, a government's promise became something that could be bought and sold. Government bonds were born. The seed of the modern financial system was planted. France copied the model. The Netherlands refined it. The newly independent United States used it to finance its revolution and its westward expansion. Debt was no longer a sign of weakness. It became a measure of credibility. A state that could borrow was a state that could rule. Empires once conquered land to extract gold. Now they issue bonds to extract interest. The battlefield moved from the ground to the balance sheet. 3 centuries later, debt has become the world's largest export. Every country owes. Every bank lends. Every citizen, through taxes, savings, and pension funds, is both debtor and creditor. So who is holding the other end of the rope? Let's start with the United States, because its debt is not just national, it is global. Of the $38 trillion owed, roughly half is held by investors. Most of that is owned by American banks, pension funds, insurance companies, and the Federal Reserve itself. Foreign holders control about $9 trillion. Yes, China lends to the United States. But that accounts for only 2% of total U.S. debt. America is, above all, indebted to itself. The Treasury issues bonds. Banks buy them. The central bank buys them back and creates new money in the process. Taxes pay the interest, which flows straight back into retirement funds. The debt is real, but the creditor is largely the system's own reflection. And this loop is not uniquely American. Japan lends to the U.S. The U.S. lends to Europe through the IMF. Europe lends to developing nations via the World Bank. Those nations then park their reserves back into Western bonds. It is a planetary game of hot potato, except the potato is made of promises. Everyone holds someone else's IOU. The game continues only as long as no one stands up. The real power lies with the markets. Behind every bond stands a web of massive funds, central banks, and institutions managing trillions of dollars. They decide who can borrow cheaply, and who must pay for survival. Democracy decides who governs. Markets decide who survives. The priests of this system are central banks. They do not merely manage debt, they create it. Every unit of money in circulation is a debt somewhere else. There is no such thing as debt-free money. For decades, this system has survived on a single force: trust. No one expects the debt to be repaid. They only expect the interest to be paid. But when trust collapses, we have seen what happens in Greece, Argentina, Sri Lanka. Suddenly, creditors become visible. The IMF, rating agencies, anonymous bondholders, and yet, the system never stops. Debts are restructured, new loans replace old ones. Because in the modern world, debt is not designed to be repaid. It is designed to be rolled over. Governments do not plan to eliminate their debt. That is not a conspiracy, it is policy. Sovereign debt is the heartbeat of capitalism. It keeps pensions, banks, and markets alive. That is why promises to pay it all off are an illusion. The real goal is not to eliminate debt, but to preserve belief in it. And one final truth must not be forgotten: debt does not flow only between nations. It flows between classes. Interest moves upward, from workers and taxpayers to institutions and investors. That is why global debt and global inequality rise together. In the end, there is no single villain. Not China, not Wall Street, not the IMF. All of them, and us. Debt has become money itself. The system works until balance breaks. And when it does, only one truth remains: Debt is a promise that cannot be kept forever.